In this video, you are going to learn how to use RStudio, which is a tool that was designed to enhance the experience of programming in R. RStudio is an example of what's known as an Integrated Development Environment, or IDE. A question you might ask is, if we already have R installed, why use RStudio? Well, running R outside of RStudio looks something like this. This is a screenshot of the Graphical User Interface, or GUI, for the Mac version of R. You can see that it consists of one frame in which to enter and execute code. For example, the obligatory first line of code, print hello world, and its output on the first and second lines. Or 4 plus 4 and its output on the next two lines. And finally, creating a new object. In this case, we see an empty output. And if we were to clear the code on the screen, there would be no indication that an object named A exists in our environment. Wouldn't it be nice to track the objects we create and delete? If we were using RStudio, we could easily do this. Let's now take a look at RStudio and see some of the ways in which it can enhance our coding experience. When you open RStudio for the first time, it will look something like this. There's a lot more going on than the R GUI we just took a look at. So let's break this down into smaller parts and zoom in on each one in turn. We can see that just like the R GUI, we have a console we can use to enter and run code. We also have a files pane in which we can see our directory and file structure. And finally, the environment pane, which we will take a look at in a couple of moments. There are also other panes that are hidden right now, and we will also take a closer look at a few of them. Let's first take a look at the console. We see that it looks like the R GUI. We've entered some code and can see their output. Again, we've created an object called A. The difference is that if we were to clear our code, we could still easily see that we've created this new object. And that's by taking a look at the environment pane. We can see that this pane now has a new entry, the object A, and we can even see what this object contains, 8. As you continue coding, if you find that your environment is becoming cluttered with objects and you want to start afresh, you can just click this broom icon to delete all the objects. However, be careful using this, because once the objects have been deleted, they cannot be retrieved. Using the console to enter and run your code is fine, but it would be useful to be able to save the code you write, not just because it's a good idea to keep a record of the code you run, but also to be able to refer to it later on or share it with a colleague. One easy way to do this is to open a new R script. To do this, you first click on File in the menu bar, then on New File, and finally on R script. When you click on this, you will see a new R script named Untitled appear above your console, like this. Just like we did with the console, we can enter our code into this new file. However, the code does not automatically get executed. To run our code, we need to click the Run button. Clicking this button will run only one line of code at a time. To run everything, you can highlight all your code and then click this button. To save your script, click on the Save icon. After you click this button, you will be prompted to give your file a name, which we will call example_script. After saving, you will see a new file called example_script.r appear in the Files pane. Let's now take a look at some code for making a simple plot. This code here makes use of the ggplot2 package and uses the built-in mtcars dataset to produce a scatter plot. Running all this code produces a plot that appears in the plots pane on the lower right-hand side of the screen. And if you make multiple plots, you can easily toggle between them by clicking on these forward and backward arrows. And if you want to quickly save a particular plot, just click on the Export button. 2 panes over is the ever-helpful Help pane, which we can use to look up the description of a given function, for example, filter. This pulls up the documentation along with useful examples of how to use this particular function. When you first install R, you will have access to a wide range of useful functions. However, there exist literally thousands of packages that contain additional functions that have been created for specialized tasks, like advanced plotting or machine learning. Many of these packages live in what's known as the Comprehensive R Archive Network, or CRAN. If there's a package on CRAN that you think would be useful, you can easily download it from RStudio by first clicking on Tools and then on Install Package, which will open a pop-up which you can use to search for the package you want to install. Now let's move on to importing data into RStudio. Say you have a simple dataset that contains information on ice cream prices, like this one. We can tell from the Files pane that this Excel file lives in the Home directory. To import this file, first click on the Import Dataset button in the Environment pane and choose the From Excel option. This will take you to this screen. Here, click on the Browse button and select the file you want to import. When you do that, RStudio will show you a preview of what the file contains. Helpfully, it will also show you the code you need to run to import this file, if you want to choose that option. And finally, if everything looks good and you're ready to import the file, just click the Import button. And now we can see that we have a new object in our Environment pane. If we double-click this, RStudio shows us what this object contains, which is our ice cream cost data. And finally, we see in the console the code RStudio ran for us to import and view this file. There you go. You now have a basic understanding of how RStudio works and can begin coding in R using this wonderful tool. Although we've only seen a few examples of how to use this tool, this should get you started on your R journey. If you would like to use either R or RStudio, or hopefully both, here are the links to download these tools. Both are free and open source, with vibrant communities that can help you with any problems you might encounter.